When you live close to the beach like I do in East Coast of Florida, you always have to be mindful of storms and hurricanes. But the nice thing about it is a couple of days later, the beach is loaded with treasures and driftwood, and Hurricane Debby was no exception. Just love this walk. Oh my God, look at that. Holy crap. That is a huge drop off, but the shell beds are massive. Flat ocean. We're gonna find treasures today. The tide is coming in, and this is kind of what I wanted because what's happening, the waves are coming in and washing this rack line. And look, I've already found a little piece. Look at that. But the waves come in and wash out this rack line, and it's just continuously churning. So I'm looking for glass today, and I'm looking for shells, and I'm also going to be looking for rocks. So like these holy rocks. See, I like these holy stones. This is called a hagstone. And this hole is all the way through the rock. It's naturally occurring from nature. And this just has a lot of, I guess, a lot of mythical, I don't know, mythical properties. I haven't really studied it all that much, but it's supposed to ward off evil spirits, so it lets the negative energy pass through the hole. I don't know. I collected them even before I looked up the history and kind of the meaning of it, but I just think they're really cool and I pick them up. And if I can find a little tiny one like that, it's just a bonus. So let's get hunting. Now, Hurricane Debby was several weeks ago and it passed way north of us. But it still brought a lot of wave action, you know, with the outer bands of the hurricane kind of pushing us on the East Coast. I'm on the East Coast and Debby hit the West Coast, but we still had a lot of wave action. I have never seen our beach like this with the shell beds and the rocks and the surf. And look at those cool little tide pools. It is just amazing. I've never seen it like this. The main thing I'm looking for are the little hagstones, little holy stones, which I've actually started selling on Etsy because I find so many of them, and a lot of people really do believe in their magical healing powers. So I've been selling them on Etsy and it's done really well. But I am also looking for special shells that I can use in my artwork, like cockle shells and oyster shells that I use a lot of. Now, my beach walk on this day was at high tide, so I keep having to dodge the waves, and unfortunately I was wearing regular clothes and not a bathing suit, but I did get wet a couple of times, but it was totally and completely worth it. So like I said, I'm looking for rocks, I'm looking for shells, and I am keeping an eye out for special sea glass. We don't find a whole lot of sea glass on our beach. It's just, I don't know, not very common. I do find it though. So when I do find a piece, I get really, really excited. Now what I like about going out at high tide is the way that if you find a good shell bed like this, like it was all up and down the beach. I ended up going north instead of south because, like I said, my friend was going south, and so I ended up going north because we tend to get a little competitive. I'm turning north because I think my friend has gone south, so I'm turning north, wading through these little tide pools. This is just amazing. We don't have these tide pools very often, so this is kind of neat. Our beach tends to slope off a lot, but I think because of Hurricane Debby, even though she didn't make a direct hit on us on the East Coast, what it's brought up is just a lot of wave action. I like this little rock. It's just brought up a lot of wave action, so it's kind of carved out our beach a little bit and flattened it out, and I think that's why these shell beds are so prominent. So let's turn north and get hunting. How cool that is. water is just draining out. See, it's coming in. So it's filling up our little tide pool. But then it's draining out. It's really cool. That's really cool. So, like I was trying to say before, the nice thing about shelling at high tide is that when you find a good shell bed and the tide is coming in and the waves are crashing up on the shell line, it keeps washing the shells, and it'll wash the shells so that it kind of exposes what's underneath. And so we call that racking. The wave comes in and it washes. This piece, look at that. Stoked. So that piece of glass was actually up under the shells, and as the wave came in, it washed the shells away from that glass, and I was able to see it and pick it up. That was a good find. Do you see it? That's why I wait for the waves to re-rack, because look, I would have missed it if I had kept on walking. And a lot of times will just stay in one spot and wait for the waves to re-rack the shell line. And then it's almost like having a brand new spot that you kind of like a gold prospector. You know, you're just sifting through for treasures. All right, call me a nerd, but how cool is this rock? I don't know if this is a stone, if this is coquina or what, but how flipping cool is that? And guess what? It is going in my bag. 100%. Just re-racked. And let's see if I can find anything on this pass. We've got some cool rocks, but I don't see any glass. There we go again. So each time a wave comes in, now the high tide is coming in, the tide's coming in, so each time the wave comes, it's just kind of moving these out, and we call that re-racking. And so this is the rack line. This whole area is the rack line. And so when the wave comes in, it's shifting all these shells and all these rocks, and the glass is, the shells and the rocks helps to capture the glass, and so the glass gets trapped. And here we are. I don't see any. I think I'm going to go ahead and move on down just a little bit. And I've been in this spot for a while, so I'm going to move on down and see what I can find down here. And then I can always check on this rack line a little bit later. Honestly, since I've lived here, I have never seen anything like this. I'm sure it's happened before. I've just never seen anything like this. And that's some kind of bone. But I don't know, it's just really interesting how nature is and how the ocean is. So high tide is still coming in. It'll be interesting to see what will happen when the tide comes out. So see, it drains so fast. It's draining really fast, and this is good for me because it's re-racking these shells. So just being a little bit selfish here. Might hang out here for a minute. Look how big that shell bed is. These shell beds that Hurricane Debby brought us lasted about 2 days, and then they were gone and we were back to normal. Our beach is nice and flat again, and we have nice, beautiful, clean sand, and I really miss the shell beds. But the ocean is always changing, and I know they will come back. I did end up finding a lot of sea glass, and I just collect the sea glass. I don't really craft with it because I just think it's too pretty. But I did find a lot of holy stones, and I did find a lot of shells, and I cannot wait to show you what I'm going to make with them.